Perfect. Okay. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, Kathy.
I'm excited to ask you some questions about quantum leap hypnosis.
Yeah.
So, I've been hypnotized and um I know hypnosis can be used for lots of things. So what is your specialty? What do you like to help people with?
So, um, I've been working with hypnosis, just a little backstory. I've been working with hypnosis for something like 25 years, and I teach hypnosis. I've taught hypnosis. So, I've used it in different ways. And so I do a lot of work with subpersonalities. Obviously, with hypnosis, we're working with the unconscious mind, and so we're looking at all of the beliefs, the programming, the experiences, the stories, whether it's from this life, past lives, ancestral beliefs, soul beliefs. So the way that I love to work is to help people really to tap into their fullest potential. And so I love to do what I call quantum leap hypnosis, which is about collapsing the timelines, connecting with our higher self or future self, and actually embodying the future self, that aspect of us that already has, because there is no time, right? There's no time. And so when we connect with future self and we become future self, from a process that I take people through where we kind of merge with future self, and we're then embodying a different identity. Yeah. So, and that happens sort of like, in an instant once we kind of do that merge. And so, yeah, I love to see people move beyond their limitations, and stretch and expand and really connect with more of who they are and who they're becoming. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how that's powerful to
Mm,
merge with, that aspect or embody that
mm.
aspect of who they'd like to, be.
Yeah, and it's a journey as well because one thing that sometimes people don't know this about hypnosis, but I very much work with people in a way that I'm guiding them. But really, whenever we're in hypnosis and we're working, it's our soul that's guiding, right? And so we go where we need to go. And so sometimes that journey is quite straightforward, and we might go and we might connect with the future self. We'll see what the intentions are, right? And then we will connect with the future self. And sometimes we have to go into the shadow, or we have to work with an aspect of that person that has got some programming that needs to be released, or a past life, or whatever it is, right? So it's always a journey and a little mystery tool that is guided by the client, right? Because
So,
yeah, you're
yeah.
in control. When you said you've been hypnotized, it's like, we're in and out of hypnosis all the time. So yeah.
So, okay, that brings up a good point. You're in control because I think a lot of times people get the idea like, oh, someone's doing something to me.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really working with what the client has, what their intentions are, what they're perhaps sometimes they'll give a little history and a little story, but really going into it's like that journey. Sometimes we'll get to a part that we need to do some clearing. It's like the obstacle will present itself in some way, and a story will emerge that is up for being resolved and transmuted. And so it's kind of like magic and alchemy. And we go on this little mystery tour and adventure, and the client, um, it's their path, their journeys. There's no kind of like set route that we take, and it's coming from the subconscious, and the subconscious is the gateway to our superconscious. Sometimes the subconscious gets a bad rap because it's got all the programming, but we've got the superconscious, and the superconscious is kind of without all the limitations and all the stories and so forth. And so we're tapping into those highest resources in very magical and creative ways often, you know. So it's not like a clinical hypnosis where I am, downloading beliefs, installing beliefs. That sometimes will occur, but it's the client that's leading that, and the higher self that will say, here's what needs to happen, here's what needs to shift, or the future self, here's what I did, right? When I was there, when I got stuck, this is what I did, and this is how I then created this shift. Yeah.
So that brings up the question for people who aren't familiar with
Mm,
the like with the soup, the the different levels of
mm,
self.
mm.
Could you explain those a little bit? Like,
Yeah, so we've got our ego, our personality, um, and there's usually, like, you know, a lot of stories and history and programming. So from the age of, well, not from when we were born, from before we were born, right? We bring um, energies and stories and beliefs and programs in with us. What we haven't resolved, we might bring into us in through this incarnation, and from past lives or parallel lives, you might call them. And then we also are being imprinted when we're in the womb as babies. And so, you know, often there are experiences within the womb that we're picking up that can play out in our lives and in our businesses and in all the areas, you know, of life and business. And then, you know, we've got the ancestral beliefs that are again imprinted. And so, yeah, it's really about tapping into the unconscious, because our, you know, our logical conscious mind has got a story, what we think the problem is. Yeah. And there's not a problem. There's a possibility, an opportunity for something to emerge. And so what happens is that we dive in to the shadows and we bring out the gold. Yeah. um,
oh,
we speak with the unconscious, and often clients are really surprised. You know, sometimes there's certain elements that they're kind of aware of, or, you know, something comes up and they go, oh yeah, I knew there was something around that. And it might be something really silly that, you know, they don't even have a recollection of. It may be very symbolic, because the unconscious mind works with a lot of symbology, you know, like dreams. So it will bring up metaphors and it will bring up things that need to be resolved. And those things are the resources and the gifts that, you know, like the hero or the heroine's journey. We go through the gateway and the threshold, and we go through the initiation, and then we receive the gift. So yeah, it's just a very beautiful journey.
so could you explain then? Okay, so you go into the unconscious. How is that
Hmm.
different from the subconscious?
So, well, so here's the thing, that the people call subconscious the unconscious,
Okay.
and then the superconscious is kind of an aspect of, you know, the unconscious is kind of like a big, let's call it an energy, let's say it's a big circle, just as a metaphor. And you know, within there, there's the kind of like unconscious things, subconscious things, and then we've got the superconscious, which is kind of like more connected with your soul. So it's
Mhm.
your higher self, you know, it's like all who you are. So when we're going into you know, we've got our everyday waking consciousness, all right? When we go into all kinds of trances in a day, you know, um, watching a movie, listening to music, really focused, concentrating, we're in a trance. It's kind of like we've got these blindfold on, okay? We're focused on that, and all the rest is kind of not there. And so in trance, we go in with that intention, and we're actually going, you know, to, that's the intention, is to connect with these resources and to transmute this challenge, or to discover the gifts, right? And to see what wisdom the higher self wants to bring forward, or the future self wants to bring forward. Um, yeah. And so we're going into an altered brainwave. We could talk about the brainwaves, but, you know, to make it really simple, it's like we're in and out of hypnosis every day. Yeah. And so we're the in and out of the altered state. And so sometimes people have these concepts that, you know, they're going to be controlled, that they won't be able to come out of hypnosis. But it really is, you know, there's a part of you that is aware and that is listening to what you're saying when you're being hypnotized or when you're in trance. And and I prefer to say when you're in trance, actually, rather than hypnotized, because, you know, nobody can hypnotize you unless you want to be hypnotized. So really, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, right? And you can close your eyes and you can open your eyes, and you can actually be in trance when you've got your eyes open, right? So usually when we're in our problem state, we're in trance. It's just a problem trance. So we want the solution trance. Yeah. So we're going into an altered state. We may start seeing things, sensing things, feeling things, hearing things. All kinds of amazing things happen. And you just kind of get engrossed in the movie, you know, when you're in trance, it's kind of like your journey, and it's kind of like it's all happening. And sometimes it's blocked and then it shifts, you know. So I just guide people through, I facilitate and weave my magic to help people on that transformational journey. And in hypnosis, amazing magical things can happen, right? And our mind doesn't know the difference between what we, you know, what is true, because everything's true really, but what's true or what's reality, and what we see or feel or experience. And so, you know, we can go into these, you know, magical adventures, and it might seem, well, that was interesting, that was all very magical, but you know, it's not very practical. But actually, it's amazing. You know, when you're in trance, I've seen people do incredible things, like people that couldn't walk. I've seen the gentleman that was in a wheelchair who, when we were working, was kicking his legs really, really strongly, powerfully, and yet when he came out of trance, he couldn't walk, right? And so it's like, you know, you can go into trance and you can use trance to access any resources, you know, for healing, all kinds of amazing things. Yeah. And then when you've made that change, something shifts.
So now making that shift, it sounds like when his brain was in a certain state, he could do the action, but when it wasn't, he couldn't do the action
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yet some of the things we do when we're in the hypnotic state or the trance, they kind of carry over into the rest of our life too, right? It's not as
Yes.
though, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, everybody's individual, and you know, what can I say around that is that, you know, sometimes we can do one session and amazing shifts can occur, and sometimes, you know, there are other aspects that need to shift as well. All right, so each
Well, yeah,
person
and the
is
physical
unique.
body is that's
Yeah.
such a thing where we have
Yeah.
conditioning and it takes a little longer sometimes than the mind, which is a lot quicker.
Yeah, and also, you know, we can, you know, we have our stories, and so you know, basically what's happening is when we've got a problem, it's like there's an internal conflict. Part of us wants to do something. That's why we've got an intention or a goal. You know, and we're feeling challenged. We want some support with it to move through that. And so it's like part of us wants this, and then another part of us wants something else. It's like having two horses, and one's going that way and one's going the other way, right? And so, you know, you might do a session and the two horses come together and it's amazing, right? And then, you know, it kind of depends, as you know, we're complex beings. And so sometimes, you know, we have what we call secondary gains, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
that can kick in. So you know, it depends on what you're working on, what subject you're working on. And so on the journey, sometimes we'll do one journey. You know, I've done things in trance, and then something shifted, and it's like, wow, same day something's happened, and I know that was as a result of the work that I did, right? And clients also, you know.
So yeah, that makes sense. And like just for people, I was gonna bring in that idea of secondary gain too, because
Mm,
I'm sure not everyone's aware of what that is.
yeah.
So like if a guy in a wheelchair, I'm not saying this was the
Hmm.
case, but let's
Hmm.
say the person in the wheelchair is like, oh, I get all this attention and support from other people.
Yeah.
Like why would I want to walk? Right? I mean, I
Yeah.
do want to walk on one part of me, or on one level I want to walk, but on another level, this is pretty sweet, right?
Uh-huh.
like,
Yeah.
like that would be your secondary gain,
Yeah. And
right?
it sounds crazy, right? But it's like, if we look, we can see sometimes when we sabotage, and we can see that internal conflict. And so if we don't if we don't, you know, if we just were to go for kind of like the end result, the outcome that we want, the intention, and ignore the shadow or the internal conflict or the part of us, because we've got many parts, right? And it may be that there's a few parts, maybe a lot of our parts are wanting aligned with that goal, but there may be one part that's not. right?
Yeah.
And the biggest reason that we don't go forward or take the action or achieve the goals and our intentions and our dreams and so forth is because there's some internal conflict, you know. And very often the biggest one that blocks us is it's not safe. On some level, it's not safe for us
Yeah.
to have that, you know.
Yeah.
And you know,
So
all of those aspects need to be worked with, you know. That's what I'm saying, I guess. So sometimes we get an amazing results in one session, yeah, we for sure get shifts. And you know, other times we need to kind of like work a little bit more and look at the other things that are going on.
so just in terms of that, what kind of things do people come to you with? Like, you said there
Mhm.
are no problems, but let's say
Uh-huh,
what kind
uh-huh,
of
uh-huh.
problems do
Yeah.
people? Yeah.
Well, so I work mostly with women now because I love to work with women. So I work a lot with the divine feminine energies and divine masculine energies. So looking at the balance, because often, you know, when as women we can be either, um, well, we can be too much in our feminine energy and not in the masculine. So a lot of spiritual, because it's a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, leaders that I work with, who either have the too much masculine energy and they're kind of like, you know, overachievers, high, you know, high performance people, coaches, leadership roles, management roles, and it's like they're never enough, they're never good enough. So they've got this kind of story, right? And then they often burn out and exhaust themselves, or they get very frustrated with themselves and they push and push. And never done that in my life, right? But it's kind of like as much as they're trying and pushing and trying to make it happen, it's just like, you know, hitting a wall. And so, you know, the glass ceilings, we can all have like these areas in our life where we've got a glass ceiling, or, you know, we feel like we're sabotaging, or like, let's say around the money, people come and it, you know, got blocks with income. Our subconscious, we have like a thermostat, an internal thermostat. It's like we're allowed to have a certain amount, right? And then sometimes we go beyond that, you know, we might go way beyond it, or just a little bit. You know, if it's not safe for us or not safe for a part of us, what happens is it's like you know, that thermostat will cut in and it will bring us back. So, you know, like when you do something, you go out of your comfort zone and you get this amazing result, and then all of a sudden something happens, like let's say, you know, something happens with a boiler and it's like then you got to pay out for this and pay out for that, and it's like, well, that was weird, because we're creating it, because it's like we're not used to having it, or, you know, we're not used to taking whatever the action is, so we take it for a while and then we kind of revert back, you know. So yeah, people come for their health, their mindset, you know, around their income goals, you know, the areas where they feel like they're, you know, they're sabotaging themselves. They know what they should be doing, but they're not doing it. And it's often it's like the too much masculine energy or too much feminine energy, where we're all amazingly intuitive and kind of like, you know, very in our hearts and connecting with our soul and all of that, and we are just not taking the action to that, you know, because that's very much the flow, like the river, but we're not taking the action to create the channels in order for the river to flow. Yeah, so the kind of practical, logical, strategic, structural things, you know, putting those structures in place, because we can be more left brain or more right brain. Yeah.
And we need both.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have
A
both. We
marriage, a
need
marriage
both.
with the masculine and the feminine, right? The sacred union. So it's about the balancing of, you know, left and right brain and the masculine feminine energies, so that we can be in our power, and we can also, you know, be in our heart and aligned with our purpose, and, you know, all of our values, all of that. Yeah.
All right. So is there anything else you want people to know right now?
If you haven't tried hypnosis, then that's a lie anyway. Because I've already said that we're in and out of trance all the time, every day. But if you haven't, you know, looked at hypnosis, then have a look, check it out. You know, if you've got any questions, then feel free to DM me or email me, because I love to share with people about, you know, hypnosis. It is amazing, amazing tool, and it's an amazing journey.
Yes. Yeah.
Extremely powerful. Yeah.
So what's your website?
So my website is www.kimberleylovell.com or .co.uk. either one will find me.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. This was fun.
Oh, thank you, lovely. It's great to connect and chat with you.
Anytime.
Bye.
Bye.